many videos. We're hitting another live stream today. I know I'm pretty tired, so it's going to be a short stream today, but we have so much content to talk about today. Absolutely incredible week it's been for XRP. It's going exactly as I predicted. So if we go to the exchange right now, it does seem like XRP is still on the standoff. Still seems like it is fighting for the big rally. I'm really hoping that it can actually recover, because right now we have seen XRP get absolutely destroyed last few days. That is because a lot of the whales have sold. But I'm not too worried on the long term, because I'm going to show you exactly what happened to the prices. The prices, as I have told you, we have slightly fallen off. 2.78 went a bit lower. And look at that, 2.78, just as I said. But suddenly we fell down to 2.74. Now, nobody predicted that. But again, the rally already happened, which is absolutely amazing. It is good news that we wanted to see for some time, actually. So what is next for XRP? We're still far away from 3.66. which is the big problem. Right now, 3.66 seems like far off. But I feel like this August, it's going to sideline up and down. It will go either way. Why is that? It's just because right now, XRP doesn't have much of that momentum news going on. It doesn't really have anything game-breaking that it would make it explode back to $4 in just 1 month. Again, crypto markets are fast, but they are not that fast. So we could be seeing more on that pretty much soon. But I am actually streaming XRP every day, so I will keep you guys updated on more news as well. Will XRP reach $4 this month? Let's start a vote. And I feel like I'm going to vote for no, because I don't think it's going to be $4 this month. I feel like everybody's hyped about September. So September it is, right? That is the one we have been waiting for such a long time. We wanted to see it, and we are seeing it now, right? So that's the most important factor that I'm seeing right now with XRP. Still down on the momentum, but there is plenty of news that could potentially make it rally back up to all-time highs. So would be very nice. Again, this is the price news of 3.66 staying on top. Like, if you feel like it's just going to stay on top and not move, I feel like it's very unrealistic. I feel like that the market corrections are very normal, even if we look at 4-hour charts. Look at that, guys. 4-hour charts, the same pattern as 2025, 15 January, where it couldn't actually recover. You know, it couldn't stand by it. So it crashed down from $3 to 2.30. And we're seeing the same patterns now. We might be seeing like a rally, and the rally might go off. I don't think it's going to go back to $4, but I think it's going to continue fighting in the sidelines, basically trying to go up and down exactly as I predicted. $3 support line and $3.42 support line. So yeah, it does seem like that XRP right now still has major potential. But we're seeing exactly as we saw. If we go back 2018, so go here, 2018. Let's do a 1-day chart. Look at the 1-day chart. Again, looking pretty nice. Look at the 1-week chart. Now, 1-week chart is where I get caught off guard, right? Because it doesn't even show me the price data. So it's pretty clear that XRP was not even listed on exchanges before this came rallied. And like 1 year ago, XRP was literally in 50 cents. So in 1 year, it went from 50 cents to $3. And a lot of people are calling me, I'm lying, you know, I'm bad news. And I just like to be really realistic what's going to happen next to XRP, because I want to tell people like the truth. I don't want to like say to them everything is going to be sunshine. And I honestly don't believe that, you know, August is going to be a good month for XRP. And I'm really hoping I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong and XRP goes to the moon. But what we saw historically is XRP, you know, fighting in August and then exploding in September. There is another update for XRP I would like to show you guys. XRP massive update. Look at that. It's truly massive, and Miles G has been making another video on this.
Have so much to talk about. It's actually very exciting and so much good news that I need to share with you. It's going to be absolutely crazy. This week is going to be absolutely massive and in a good way. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys everything of my thoughts with XRP and the crypto market.
So let's just skip over here. Here he talks about XRP, but this is the same analysis I basically made, or well, I kind of like looked at his analysis and we both have the same agreement, is right now XRP is going 2.75 and it's now trying to break out for another momentum.
XRP is almost $3.10 right now, where I think we could potentially head to very, very soon, and much sooner than I was expecting, is $3.33. We should, if we're continuing to push up.
I mean, $3.33 would be still in range of my support levels. These are the support levels I was talking about. I feel like it's going to be fighting between these support levels. Exactly. Guys, keep these support levels in mind. $3 and $3.33. These are the ones you have to keep in mind for August. In September, I am potentially hoping for 370, 350. You know, that would be much, much better. But again, it seems like it has deviated a bit. Like it has went off track here. But the analysis I gave is completely the same as the patterns we are seeing. And I made the chart like 1 week ago.
We should see this level. If this level gets taken, we're going to probably then see $3.60.
So $3.60 would be nice, but I feel like for $3.60, we also need to see Bitcoin rise. Bitcoin is like the big brother, and if we want to see crypto rise, Bitcoin is also big momentum. Of course, 2025 is going to be the big thing, and yeah, the SEC officially dropping the lawsuit. There still hasn't been any news on that, right? And still no news on the Ethereum treasuries. I think these are the biggest factors, most important factors that could really change crypto, that could really change what's happening on the outside.
5 cents. So if we break about and hold above this level here, we're going to be seeing almost $4. That will make it a new all-time high for XRP. If you take a look at Bitcoin here, Bitcoin has continued to hold this support. We've even reclaimed the range low.
So yeah, why did XRP drop? Is because it literally had a bigger gain than Bitcoin. Bitcoin went from like 70K to 130K, and XRP went from 50, 40 cents or whatever to massive $3.6. So yeah, major profit, 6, 7x. Imagine if Bitcoin went right now to 700K or 300K, 400K. Of course, you'd be like, a lot of people would be more selling. What do you think of the new IPO? Bullish. It's a crypto holding. I think you mean the Ripple IPO, right? That is pretty bullish as well. Ripple IPO is bullish, but I don't know if it will affect the XRP price directly as much as people think. I think it will definitely help though. And I think once they do, you know, I saw Levi talk about burns, and the burns could be a big issue. We could be seeing like very small burns and they won't affect the price as much, but who knows?
So this was the range low of this whole entire pump. Bitcoin had pumped up, consolidated for many weeks. We have reclaimed the range low. So this means it's quite likely that Bitcoin is probably, after you reclaim a range low like that, probably going to come back up to resistance, maybe 120, 118, somewhere in this region. If this happens, cryptos are going to go absolutely insane. I
feel like Bitcoin is just waiting for some good news or some like data reports. That's what really we are waiting for. And we're like kind of far off as well from that. But again, it's first week of August, second week of August is still pretty early. So 3 weeks is going to pass really fast, guys. I feel like 3-4 weeks, you guys are going to be surprised. And then it's going to be suddenly like everything is going to be exploding. How high do you think XRP will go by the end of 2025? I feel like that's not financial advice, right? But I feel like XRP right now is going to try to push $4. And then I feel like we're going to have some resistance at like 420, 410. So 430. Those are going to be the key resistance points for XRP.
bullish thing is if you take a look here, you can see here on Algo Sniper on the 4-hour time frame, this is the 200 EMA. Bitcoin dominance has rejected this 200 EMA.
If we would rally up to $7, it would be really nice. But yeah, it's kind of fighting in August.
We've also rejected resistance very aggressively, and we are probably going to start to see this low here. If Bitcoin dominance breaks down to this level here and we lose this support, alt season is probably going to begin. Altcoins are going to go absolutely crazy, including XRP. So a lot of bullish news came today. Just recently, look at this. The USC FTC acting chairman Caroline Pham announced that the CTFC will launch an initiative for trading spot crypto.
So there's the good news. There's always good news on the US regulation. The bad news is this takes a lot of time. So it might take like a few years before this is realized. So the crypto government update news, I don't like mention it in my streams or videos that much, is because literally it takes a ton of time. It takes like a real long while before it gets materialized and setting contract and written and really into effect. So I'm hoping for something different.
The dips on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that marked the bottom. That was literally almost at the bottom, and the market had been pumping ever since. So Trump is saying to buy. The market is looking very bullish. This FUD that crashed the market, guess what? They're saying don't worry about it. This is very, very bullish, guys. This is.
I feel like, yeah, the government just won't give up on crypto yet.
And we could even start trending very hard and aggressively. Watch them start pumping a lot of really bullish news back to back to back.
So yeah, we're pushing for $7. Then the SEC just sent a massive signal, bigger than anyone realizes. Listen closely, XRP news today, right? So SEC sending a massive signal. What's going on in the markets, right? And the stock markets really follow crypto markets as well.
Currency. So Donald Trump posted this. So President Trump says there will be many more days like this after the US stock market adds over $1 trillion just today itself. So as the market opened, guys, we saw $1 trillion added to the valuation of the...
I feel like people overestimate, yes, $1 trillion is added to the stock markets, but it's not crypto markets. Again, if 1 trillion is in crypto markets, that's 25%. If 1 trillion is in XRP, it goes to $13 or $10 or whatever it is, right? But if you'd add 1 trillion on the stock market, it's literally going to go all around, and it might make like 2-3% gains to Amazon. So yeah, just let that sink in.
Entire stock market, and that tells you how big of a deal this really is. And this is what Donald Trump says: good day in the stock market, but there will be many more days like this. America is very rich again and stronger than ever before. Thank you for your attention on this matter. So remember, September, a lot of people are anticipating a potential rate cut, but crypto market also reacting in a really positive way, along.
I feel like whenever the markets recover a bit, crypto comes back and gets stronger, basically. Wants to be 10 times stronger, right? It's not giving up. And I feel like the sentiment for most people are still bullish on XRP. They're not selling. So why will they sell now? They haven't sold it at 120K. They haven't sold it 100K. They haven't sold their XRP at $1, $2. Some people sold at 3.66. I was looking at a live stream and some people literally got $200,000, $60,000. And, that made them sell. Just totally fine and normal. But we are going to be seeing a long range momentum of crypto holders entering in. We still have retail investors coming in.
Side with the
$9 max for XRP this run. Yeah, it would need a massive rally and support of the US government. But this is the SEC update. Look, this is the thing that we are going to get a rate cut. That's going to really save crypto in September. And I'm going to be live streaming that as well. And it's not that far, guys. It's only 1 day, like 1 month and 12 days. So it's not really far as you guys think.
Institutions are actually projecting a rate cut of 25 BPS. Of course, some people are saying, it should be 50 BPS, 75 BPS, a full percent.
Trump said 300 BPS, but this will never happen, right? We are going to be seeing probably 90% of people say it's going to be, a large cut, like 50 BPS or whatever. But this is good enough to really pump, to start that crypto pump.
But we don't know that. I think 25 BPS to start off would make sense, but you could see 90% people think that, the rate cut will happen this time around. And I think timing is everything, and we are setting ourselves up, perfectly in terms of timing aspect. If this rate cut happens, I think this would be really bullish for the crypto markets in general. And look at this, Circle IPO success inspires wave of crypto firms to consider going public. Analysts say public listings could boost mainstream adoption, not
So yeah, Ripple is 100% going to go mainstream, in my opinion. It's 100% going to go for an IPO if they can achieve that. I feel like they're going to push on that to late 2026. I think they still have a lot of plans to do before they go IPO, but everybody's talking about ETFs. What about IPOs? It's like everybody's sleeping on them whenever I check it out. And IPO is a big thing that is not going to affect XRP directly. But again, the company that literally makes the coin going public, billions of dollars floating in and entering the biggest market is very, very big. Selling for 200K before regulations, laws, and financial institutions is ridiculous to me. Although I understand that 200K made life-changing for some individuals. I guess they made 200K profit, so they sold maybe 500,000. You could sell like 500,000 if you have like 1 million XRP. I'm not too sure. Everyone had their own amounts, but I'm sure some whales have sold. Maybe they also bought just before the rally and sold it, for $1, $3, whatever it is, profit per coin. So that can really add up. If you have a lot of money, these whales will make more money, which is kind of how the world works, right?
Bad thing for altcoins. So exactly what your boy Crypto ZX has been talking to you guys about for quite some time. We're seeing a global shift taking place, and you're going to see crypto firms, taking advantage of this, because I think this is going to be a boom, but I don't think it's going to obviously last long term. Not all these companies that do go public are going to be here long term, but I think they're definitely going to take advantage of this specific, hype factor that's really coming in, going public, and of course, Circle, the types of, return that the IPO, like if anyone got in at the IPO, the types of return people have got has a lot of people talking, and I think a lot of firms are paying attention to. So I'm not
like crypto companies. Ripple is giving high returns. If it was not giving high returns, nobody would be talking about it. Let's face it, right? And that's what Ripple wants to aim. It wants to make more money for the investors, and it wants make more money for shareholders when it gets public. So it kind of makes sense, especially if you work with the US government. It's very bullish.
Not surprised at this fact, and I do personally project more and more crypto firms will go public, but we need to understand not all of them are going to be, the revolutionary ones. Only a few will, and this just gives me more hope for what the Ripple IPO is going to look like. I think it is going to be the biggest IPO in my personal opinion, for a crypto firm. I think it's going to even outpace Coinbase big time. But again, that's my own personal opinion. Only time will tell.
So the thing is, when Ripple goes public, all these people who own XRP will go buy it. And that will create a lot of volume, which will bring the Wall Street bets users, basically the big bettors. And Ripple IPO will basically break the internet. I feel like a lot of traders will come to trade Ripple IPO, not just XRP. And I think it's going to be a mutual benefit.
Do let me know your thoughts down below regarding this. But Bitcoin demand remains strong per crypto. Quant accumulation is rising.
Price just drops a bit, but the demand is still strong. People are still holding. Limited supply, do the math. Again, this is simple math, and it seems like strong hand stacking, Bitcoin's pressure building beneath the surface, right? Crypto Journey said.
Supply is failing. Not failing, falling, and long-term holders are still buying. And these long-term holders this time around, a lot of people forget, yes, before it was whales, maybe a few small businesses that were accumulating, but now we're talking about big billion, if not trillion-dollar asset managers coming on board, big hedge funds.
So again, they just confirmed that, they're going to have Bitcoin retirement funds and whatever, and other coins. Who knows how many more there will be that we're going to see basically pump as well. There could be billions of XRP buyers basically in this point of time. Like even if 50 million buyers, right now we have 5 million, that's still a 10x potential. It's not even a billion people. So it's not even every seventh person. That's the thing I'm trying to make with crypto. It's very early stages
coming on board. Everyone wants to accumulation. So, where we talk about that 4-year cycle no longer, in play. this gives me that understanding. This makes me kind of realize, you know what? If you look at it from that perspective, maybe the 4-year cycle no longer exists for BTC itself. 90% of the altcoins are still, 98% of the altcoins are still going to be impacted. The ones that have strong utility, the ones that have that regulatory compliance aspect to it, maybe the ones that get the ETF, I think maybe those will kind of shift away from the 4-year cycle. But let's not get that twisted though. 98% of the overall market is still going to react to the bear market, in my honest opinion. Do let me know your personal thoughts down below, of course, as to what's happening. But again, these things we don't really want to be overlooking. But take a look at this. The CFTC is launching an initiative to explore.
So this one, asset contract on CFTC regulated exchanges and is seeking public feedback. So this is the first plan before they go literally public into crypto. The CFTC's push to list spot crypto contracts, this is XRP by the way, on regulated exchanges is exactly the kind of innovation Trump's policy leadership enables. Under Biden, crypto faced endless bureaucratic roadblocks designed to choke out American competitiveness. That's what Doge AI says. But here, what we're hearing is that right now the government is already looking how to enable XRP to be bought out on these regulated exchanges. So all the major players want lower price when it's really time to accumulate. I think so, yeah. I think XRP was super cheap at 270. But again, you never know, that could drop. And thank you for smashing that like button, guys. I really appreciate it. It takes like 1 second. So when those big whales buy Ripple stocks, they'll want to own XRP. And it goes vice versa too. Like they'll want to buy lots of stocks.
Trading spot crypto assets contracts on CFTC's regulated exchanges and is seeking public feedback. It's part of the agency broader crypto sprint announced last week by the chair, Caroline Pham. So again, big stuff happening.
Nice. This is
in
big
terms of
stuff.
that. We talk about mass adoption. We talk about regulatory clarity. This right here is perfectly right in front of us.
So yeah, this is just the news that doesn't even make, there's so much news this one doesn't even make into the charts. Like we have to scout for it. That to me is crazy. But Ripple will ultimately sneak XRP into the banking mainframe through special purpose national bank charter. Now, what does that mean?
And Shatter to Smoke, says Ripple will ultimately sneak XRP into the banking mainframe through special, purpose national bank charter. So read closely.
So yeah, we kind of talked about this for some time, but there is a mad rush by non-depository financial technology companies, crypto companies engaged in the business of banking, Ripple to Circle to Wise to bit towards. So literally, Ripple is mentioned out of all. Like Coinbase was mentioned, but Ripple was mentioned by SBI. So this is a bank in USA, which would allow these firms, essentially crypto companies, to sneak into mainframe banking while bypassing intermediary banks. All this with a stamp of legitimacy. So this would basically mean that crypto companies could have their own banks.
Business of banking, Ripple to Circle to Wise to Bitcoin. BitGo towards
having their own banks is good.
Special purposes
for
national
them,
bank SBNB, charter in the USA, which would allow these firms essentially the structure of the legal model.
So offering a 3-year grace period for all USD stablecoins. Should not comply with regulations set forth. They can no longer use USD in their stablecoin offering. They're non-compliant. Ripple USD is going the full distance as Ripple apply for their national charter license. Again, they want to become a bank. See, this is what's really taking time for Ripple. This is what I've been telling you guys. They're trying to go for a bank. That's what's taking the time.
In the last image, and of course, we've discussed.
And every time you smash that like, that's how I can help. That's how this can reach more people, by telling you this type of info you cannot find anywhere else.
In the past, you're already starting to see this happening. Stable coins are at the forefront, and the ones that are going to survive are the ones that have that clarity, regulatory compliance approval, and of course RLUSD checks all those boxes. And take a look at this. Paul Atkins says, we will make sure the next chapter of the financial innovation is written right here in America.
And Paul Atkins, pushing crypto companies. He's now focused on clear, tailored standards and drawing firm lines to curb SEC overreach. Again, seems like, when 2022, there was a market recession. So there was a huge market recession. everybody was worried if they will lose their job. Crypto was really flowing down like opposite of the river. So it was really hard to swim, right? But now it's literally like a boat. It's trying to swim with all this regulation towards the moon. So everything that we get out of news after the lawsuit is now good news, which is amazing, right? Because like 1 year ago, you would literally only have bad news for Ripple, and you could only talk about bad news.
To really thrive and, make America the U.S. capital, which is already starting to happen. So again, big things happening, which a lot of people overlook, but we don't want to be overlooking this. And, look at this, the development comes on the heels of the growing institutional interest in XRP globally. And this is, with the SBI, we're going to kind of go over this to really talk about what's happening. As previously reported, the Ontario Security Commission approved the launch of 2 spot XRP ETFs in Canada in June. In the US, where the SEC has approved the launch of several Bitcoin-only spot ETFs.
So yeah, they want to do more than 11, I'm pretty sure, XRP ETFs. But you got to realize Canada already has XRP ETFs. The big money is in US ETFs, not Canada ETFs. So they're trying to push for US ETFs as well.
Then 10 asset managers are seeking.
But yeah, here we see that they're already like delayed. But the same thing happened with Ethereum, and later it was approved, right?
To roll out a similar product for XRP along with some of the other coins. So now Ripple, long-standing partner SBI Japan, is seeking to launch a basket ETF, comprising XRP and Bitcoin and another product tied to BTC and gold. Notably, SBI expects that Japanese financial service agencies' latest efforts to treat cryptocurrencies as legitimate financial instrument to influence approval of the ETF. So it's not just happening within the US, it's
I feel like the SEC lawsuit is soon to be over. Like, it's already non-officially over, but you got to finalize it. And I'm not sure why they don't finalize it. Maybe it's negotiation. We don't know. Something is happening behind closed doors why the lawsuit is now over. But when it is, expect a pump, right? That would be very nice.
As the start of the week, beautiful, beautiful stuff happening with the dominance. This is so important to note, and we are below our May lows, which was around the 61.9%. So I love what I'm seeing here for the dominance. And as far as BTC is concerned, Bitcoin did break above the $115,000. We actually came up to 115,700, but never really managed to stay above that range. Again, we do have some resistance around that range, but we're still above 150.
So yeah, every single day I come back to XRP. It is still looking good. It's still above $3. It's still, maybe dips a bit below. Oh, no, and this is where the hype really begins. It's going to take time. Nothing is instant. But next up, we have rally to $7. XRP rally to $7 would definitely be nice. And is it even possible? Because a lot of people on my channel are asking me for what is the price going to be? Like, what's the maximum price of XRP? And that's a very good question. It is a very good question because, people think the maximum rally is going to be $200. But $200, this rally is going to be pretty hard. But $7, I mean, at its best, it could very well happen.
All right, folks, grab your coffee, grab your XRP family merch, and lock in, because we're talking about XRP rate cut rally. It is already
the rate cuts in September, I feel like they're 100% set in stone. But we really have to consider how much will they pump the crypto markets. And I'm feeling like 10, 20%. It's not going to be super big, but it's definitely going to help. And how much is the rate cut going to be? Because again, the bigger the rate cut, the bigger the slice of the knife, basically, the bigger we get a rally, which would be nice. I would definitely like to see 20% extra in the crypto markets. Again, when you say 20%, this basically means that XRP could be reaching to $4. These rate cuts could, I feel like these rate cuts are the most needed thing for XRP to reach $4.
Way the inflows are
when everyone is ready, I feel like XRP also has news that they're not telling us about, right? So there could be news that nobody's telling us about that is already set in plan. They wanna convince us. They even needed time to reveal that the SEC lawsuit is over.
Just getting started, and we also have the SEC and Ripple both about to drop their appeals this month as well. All of it's going to be fueling this rally for XRP that's underway. Let's get right on into the update. Everything's at ZachRector.com. Greatly appreciate your support. Check it out. the Fed's daily on the July Fed decision. He says he was willing to wait another cycle, but we can't wait forever. So we have Daly, we have Waller, both now coming out and saying that it's time to switch up. We have one Fed board governor that's actually resigning early. They've only been serving since.
So yeah, a lot of people against crypto now, they are slowly converting. Can you guys see it? As soon as the prices go up, it took years, but now a lot of people, you know, from this bad thing about crypto have slowly converted about how good it is and how they want to incorporate it and how many banks are using it and how XRP is going to save everything. So that's actually good news. Again, this means crypto has a good reputation.
September, but they're out of there. And so it's getting a little shaky at the Fed, and the market's starting to price it in right now. Check it out. September rate cut odds surged to 90%. Goldman Sachs says that we expect the FOMC to deliver 3 consecutive 25 basis point cuts starting in September.
So that when we get small base cuts, it means that the economy is looking very good, right? Goldman Sachs correctly predicted there's not going to be any change. But again, guys, I can't tell you how bullish this is for the crypto markets. This is literally 3 waves of rallies before we settle down. So that's all part of the plan.
Now, this would take our effective fund rate back down to about 4.5 to 4.75, I believe, is where we would be at. Because I think we're at 5.25 to 550. So if we come down about 75 basis points, we would be at 4.5 to 4.75 on your effective Fed funds rate. Now, what's underway, though, and what the market's going to do, starting to price in these rate cuts with a pump and an expectation of those Fed rate cuts, is going to make our market excited once again. Now, the date on which the Fed will be meeting will be September 16th and 17th. 17th is when we'll get that interest rate decision. And so we'll slide over here to my XRP price chart, and I've now added another vertical line right here on September 17th so that we can start to watch this one on our time.
So yeah, look at this. The price rally goes from $4, then it could be another one to $7 and $15. Now the $15, I don't feel like, you know, a lot of people are calling for $15 rally. That is a lot of money when you consider it, and I don't think it's going to be happening now, but it could happen in the future, and I'm still going to be there. But, you know, Powell cutting the rate, 3.25 cuts, and usually they're correct. 0.25 basis points, again, 3 times is 0.75 basis. It's like 75 basis points. That is as much as you can cut without causing recession. And that is basically enabling a full rally. 138%. Again, to go from $3 to $7 is 1.38%. Can you? XRP just gained a 3x in the last few weeks, or maybe like 2 to 5 months, last 7 months. It gained 300%. So can it get another 100% to get to $7? Now, that is the question. And you gotta, guys, ask yourself. People said it will never reach $1. So what's stopping it from reaching $7 if it already almost reached $4? It kind of makes sense, right? This is bullish news. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys, that is happening live as we speak.
Time frame as well. Now you see here XRP back above $3 with strength. We're at 307 right now, and it's looking fantastic. We only have 30% to go. Let me just zoom in real quick. Only 30% to go to get up into my price target.
So 30% to $4, I think that's set in stone, right? I think we can all agree that this is going to happen.
Of $4 to $5, and I have it by August 12th. There's a reason why I drug out that I wanted to give myself a few days grace. And so we're looking at by August 12th is when I have my target set for a $4 to $5 XRP. We got faked out. We ran up here to 366, came back down. Everybody got scared. Oh, Zach, we're going to miss your purple box. No, we're not. We're still right on track, and we're only 30% away. We could do that in 2 days with ease back here on the XRP price chart. Zoom out, and you'll see that we're still right on track for my $7 to $15 target by August 23rd and September 7th is that window of opportunity. So by September 7th, I'm still hanging on to a $7 to $15 XRP. Where's the money going to come from?
Nice.
Well, let me show you where money's flowing right now. No XRP spot.
So yeah, it seems like that all the money right now is on ETFs, but soon could rally to XRP. Again, this is how it works. First, it rallies into Bitcoin, then it rallies into Ethereum ETFs. Ethereum ETF is the hype now. And again, this can't go on forever. And massive props to Ethereum because it's been an absolute hurtful journey, right? So $15 by September is going to be kind of hard, right? But, you know, maybe $7 is not $7 in next year, in 1 year, is not too crazy. So yeah, this rally is just going to push it to 5. Like, I feel like there's going to be some resistance at $4 for sure.
ETFs available, so the money's flowing into Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, 5.89
Matt Hoogan,
who
who is the chief investment officer of Bitwise, says Ethereum.
People have been calling for $5.89 for centuries now. And if we see that, that would definitely be a bullish bump.
ETFs pulled in $5.4 billion in July. When you consider Ethereum is 20% the size of Bitcoin, the scale of those flows really hits home. Imagine if Bitcoin ETFs did $27 billion in a month. And, you know,
So wait for XRP ETFs. This is just a part of volume. We are still waiting for the XRP ETFs to come by. So that's what I'm really hyped for. We still haven't seen the full potential unlock. Again, this is why I'm hyped. We're still in like this risk early stages of crypto.
said, and I'm just thinking to myself, well, just imagine XRP ETFs see that $5 billion that the Ethereum ETFs are seeing. You're going to see.
But yeah, I feel like this is going to be September is really going to like kick us off our feet because we have been asking for an XRP ETF, and the billionaire or millionaire manager of the XRP ETFs who has applied for it has seen they have never seen such a response, you know, to get it accepted. Never, ever have they seen such a response. And this is, to me, is crazy. So the XRP army is going to eat it up alive. the XRP ETFs.
A much better ROI on XRP, one, and two, that percentage gain that's coming for XRP based off those conservative inflows is going to be dramatic. Now, are the Bitcoin ETFs going to see 27 billion in a month? They haven't yet that I'm aware of, and I don't think that they're going to. Now, the inflows have been pretty good.
Again, why do the ETFs help? Because one, institutions can buy it and sell it easily. You can just put it on the market. And secondly, a lot of people do not know how to buy XRP, especially, the older generation, the younger generation. Maybe they don't know how to use crypto exchanges. Maybe they barely know how to open a bank and the bank does for them. This will enable them to click a button in the bank and bam, they have bought XRP. If you tell your old parents, hey, you want to buy some XRP, they can literally go to the bank and get some, right? But if you do it now, you have to set up this exchange. You have to finish all this stuff, documents. You don't know if the exchange is going to go down and under and is not going to exist in like 20 years. But with banks, this is where the real trust comes in. This is when everything becomes really official with these ETFs. And that's why people are staying here.
Took Bitcoin to a new all-time high. Fantastic. Ethereum ETFs have been live for a year. They've seen some, billions of inflows so far, just 5.4 billion in July alone. The largest inflow month for Ethereum by far, still didn't hit a new all-time high. That's a problem. But if you talk about 5 billion coming into XRP, well, I just went on over to Google. We've been doing our market cap multiplier, and I've been trying to make this simple for everybody to understand. But if we just put a 50x multiplier on that 5 billion. So for example, if the ETFs go live for XRP in September or October, and we were to see 5 billion of net inflows into XRP, just staying conservative with the 50x multiplier, not the 472x multiplier that I showed you this morning, not the 1,250x multiplier that we showed you.
1,000 would be nice, but again, I don't think it's going to happen this rally, as I said. My 60-year-old coworker asked me how to buy XRP just last week. The ultimate indicator of bull run is incoming. Exactly. Like XRP is now more talk than Bitcoin. It is insane.
For a 12-hour period during the weekend, just a 50x. Not a 500, a 50x multiplier on that. It would equate to XRP's market cap growing by 250.
So 50x for XRP is going to be $150, which means 250 billion. What is like Bitcoin? I got to check. Bitcoin isn't like a trillion. So Bitcoin's market cap is 2.2 trillion. That is insane. So I feel like that's a realized market cap because the market cap for XRP is 181 billion right now. So if we want to see if it would reach same prices as Bitcoin, XRP, or same prices as Ethereum, it would go to like to $6-7. So yeah, it can definitely happen. Crypto is doing good.
Billion. 250 billion. Okay, so we'll head on over here to the XRP market cap chart, and I'll show you what that would do for XRP and XRP price wise. So on the market cap, if we add 250 billion to XRP's market cap, you're up about 138% in price, and you'd be at a market cap of about 433 billion. We're just rounding off the numbers, keeping our math simple. Now, what's interesting is that this perfectly aligns with the percentage growth that we would need to see for a $7 XRP. Ain't that something? So from today's price, 138% gain.
So just guys, just know that it's not gonna be super easy to get to $7 XRP. It's not. It was a struggle to get to $3.7, but it is a nice like head start. It is like a nice goal to reach. I feel like we gotta reach $4, $5 first, and after that is done, you can like really see the patterns moving. But again, this is the ultimate goal, right? Is to go to $7. But to get to $7, you got to see first get to $4, $5.
Would take us to a $7 XRP. Once again, back to the XRP market cap chart. If we see 138% growth, 252 billion in XRP's market cap, that's all lined up. And we're talking.
So 220 from 20 billion. I don't know if his math was right, but a 25 basis point cut is not impacting anything. People aren't going to run out and buy a home with a mortgage with only 25 basis point cut. What's a 30-year now at 6.75? But you got to consider 3 basis point cuts. Some people have been waiting to buy for a long time. So that's going to be really changing the game.
$7 XRP. Once again, back to the XRP market cap chart. If we see 138% growth, 252 billion in XRP's market cap, that's all lined up. And we're talking about staying conservative, only 5 billion of inflows, which is what the Ethereum ETFs pulled in July alone.
Okay, so he's talking about the inflows. He's talking about Ethereum ETF pulled in 5.4 billion. So this is just inflows. What he forgot to mention is also the outflows. So when there's a lot of inflows, there's also sales, right? So yeah, if nobody sold their XRP, we would be seeing these prices. But you got to consider there's going to be some people also selling. So yeah, there is going to be some, roadblocks ahead before we reach, $7. It's not going to like moonshot, because I feel like some people will sell at $5, $6. Keep that in mind.
And this is why I say, give me a year, up to a year after those ETFs go live.
So the ETFs, I feel like, will go live September, October, just as predicted.
I'm hanging my hat on a $20 to $30 XRP based off these inflows and what we're going to see coming conservatively. Yeah, it's a $20 to $30 XRP, and it very well could be more. And we're not done yet. One of the other things that's going to fuel this XRP rally and the inflows coming in is when retail finally realizes, oh, gee, the XRP Ripple case is finally over. And it's going to come.
So they have to announce that. I feel like it's already over, but they haven't been speaking much about it. I feel like my gut feeling is there's something happening behind closed doors, and we don't know about it. Could be literally anything.
Most likely this month. This is Mark Fagel, who used to work at the SEC. So don't take it from me.
So Ripple has not yet dropped its cross appeal. There is a standard process the SEC must follow to approve this. Can take several months. So just regulation, no foot dragging, just legal requirements. It will happen soon. Judge Torres no longer has anything to do with this case. See, so it is literally just regulation.
Who used to work at the SEC. So don't take it from me. I'm just an XRP hopium guy, a YouTuber that does nothing but shills XRP hype. Because we believe in it. We have fundamentals, real analysis, and data to back it up. And yes, we do get hyped about XRP. But please don't listen to me. Let's listen to an SEC lawyer who has to cross every T and dot every I and make sure that everything's straight. What does he have to say? Ripple has not yet dropped its cross appeal. There is a standard process that SEC.
So yeah, as I said, guys, this is just regulation in place, and once that is over, there could be things underway that they have to sign, they have to approve. Maybe it's because offices are out of order. Could be tons of things that we don't even understand yet that really change it. But yeah, a lawyer has confirmed this, which is absolutely insane. But here's the thing, you know, this is the big hype that people were waiting for. I feel like 90% is already priced in since the SEC case won the lawsuit. They're just going to finalize it. I feel like it's going to be a smaller rally, but it's not going to be the big rally we have seen before.
It's coming now. Judge Torres no longer has anything to do with this case. This is in the appeals court. And so the next date in this case that I'm hearing right now is August 15th. And so, you know, what are the odds that we see here an SEC Ripple both dropping their appeals officially? The case is officially over. We can shout it far and wide because nobody wants to listen to me when I say that the case is over now. Our community has PTSD, and I don't like to use that term with all due respect to real people who had PTSD, but you get my point. Our community.
So guys, listen very carefully. August 15th is just a rumor, but I will still be streaming it on my channel because August 15th is when we are really expecting the Ripple SEC case, at least some news, at least some updates. We haven't been hearing much. But yeah, everything just changed for XRP. Let's check some price analysis right now. XRP price prediction, everything just changed, right? And Steph's Crypto has been pretty clear and vocal about XRP. Seems like crypto right now is still very bullish. Like a lot of people I have seen talking about XRP are they're still happy about it. It's not like, you know, in August, I kind of like 2021, I saw the same patterns that I see now where yes, the prices were down, but people didn't really lose that much hope. Of course, there's some new people complaining, but that is pretty normal in the crypto markets.
XRP holders, the XRP price is getting close to the next major move higher here in the market. And in this quick video, I want to show you a lot of data points, a lot of TA stuff that is currently pointing to much more upside for XRP. I'm going to share my...
So yeah, he's sharing a lot of good stuff. That's why I like really watching his channel. But some of the stuff we both agree on, some of the stuff I disagree, but I could be totally wrong in that case. He's probably better at price predictions, but I'm better at like looking at the news and checking what everything is happening. But look at this rally. It's absolutely beautiful, and we saw 92% go up. Now, I feel like to go 92% up again, you know, he's been calling for another rally of 92%. But to literally see like this, it would have to be better than the last one, which last one was easier to obtain. So you would have to be like everything perfectly lined up, right? To see a rally to $4.5 without any pressure. But we have seen it once. Maybe we can see it again. The issue is I feel like there's going to be some pressure before we actually reach those $4 because this was when it was easier. Going to 1.7 to 3 is way easier than going from 3 to 4.5.
We are currently almost spotting a bullish crossover on the MACD for XRP on the 12-hourly time frame. And the last time that we had this bullish flip on the MACD moving averages was literally at the end of June last year, and the price went up by almost 100% in a relatively short amount of time. So this is definitely a signal that you don't want to ignore. And I said June last year, I mean June of 2025, of course, because this is the 12-hourly time frame. But I do believe that we could see something similar for XRP, and I will give you the price targets in a minute, so definitely stay tuned here in the video. Also here, guys, we're seeing a successful bullish retest for XRP on the 2-week time frame. We had this multi-month consolidation phase since the end of November last year. XRP broke out recently. We saw a retest, and it looks like we're seeing continuation back to the upside right now.
So yeah, what I like is that after we got to $2.7, literally people tried to rally it back up. So people definitely have not forgotten about XRP in August, because if they did, I was expecting we would go back to like $2.3, $2.2, right? But we are seeing that recovery. We're seeing that momentum push. People really wish for it to go to 3.6. And the whales are buying in. Everyone is basically chipping in, is doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and trying to get it back to 4. The issue and a concern I have here is we're still waiting for the US to do its own thing as well.
Now, so this is a major bullish development. Also, if we take a look at the trend ribbon for XRP on the weekly time frame, we do have a confirmed buy signal right now, a bullish flip of the trend ribbon. And the last time this happened was at the beginning of November. So this is also bullish. Same thing for H-bar, bullish flip of the trend ribbon. And yeah, I do think that XRP, H-bar, and a lot of other altcoins could see massive gains here in the rest of 2000.
I also don't think you can I could be totally wrong here, right? But the issue is you can't compare other tokens to what XRP is about to do. Because the other tokens did not have a lawsuit. They did not have all the same technology. I feel like every single coin that we see right now is its own thing. So if Solana is moving on its own, if H-bar is moving on its own, it might be a US company. It might be similar in that way. But in terms of utility, in terms of the partnerships, again, Ripple is the only one out of all cryptos that's working with a bank right now. So that's what really makes it strong. And that's what makes me happy because, you know, it's one of a kind. It's like an NFT.
25, so pay very close attention right now. Another super interesting signal, sorry guys, is of course this upward sloping trend line, multi-year trend line, which has been in place since 2021 for XRP with 3 touch points so far. We got rejected 2 weeks ago, but the next attempt, I do believe that there is a high chance that XRP could break through this trend line and that we could literally.
So yeah, I feel like to see this trend line, it will take a few weeks. But this trend line is literally following like pumps up every single altcoin market. So I'm not too sure how much it's connected. But this one I liked. This one that he talked about, 2017, right? This one I don't believe that much because it literally looks to me as when 2021 pumped. You know, if you went to 2017, you probably didn't see that trend line. But this is what happens every 4 years in crypto. It goes up.
To all of these signs that I'm currently pointing out, it also looks that history is repeating once again for XRP, because if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the bull run from 2017, which was a 5-wave move according to Elliott wave. We also had consolidation phase or correction phase in the middle of that bull run. And if you focus on the right hand side of the screen, this current bull run from 2025 looks fairly similar with a 5-wave move once again.
So yeah, 2017 markets were also different, but we saw the same thing in 2021 where XRP was waiting for another rally, trying to, you know, rebound, trying to just stay a bit still, then go for another run. Again, guys, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So that is the big thing that we're seeing right now is like, we're still not fully at peak yet. We still haven't hit in 2025 the peak that we were wishing to see everything explode. And I feel like we're going to hit it.
XRP and for crypto, of course. And one of the things that I also like to use is actually the altcoin season index. We're currently seeing 43 on this index, which means that there is still massive room for more growth there in the short term. But whenever this meter goes, I would say above 75 is the point where you want to lock in some profits. That is what I'm going to do. Not financial advice, of course, but historically, whenever this meter goes above 75, we tend to see a significant correction in the altcoin space. So yeah, you want to be invested whenever this meter goes below 25. You want to hold on to your altcoins and you want to sell or take profits above 75. But that is, of course, your own choice, not financial advice. And also, guys, if you want to take advantage.
So yeah, it's been 2025 and we haven't even hit the peak yet of the altcoin season. Basically means XRP has been basically growing on its own the last few months. It did not follow any other trends. And that's what I like to see. It did not have to follow anyone else. It went on its own path and it followed the Bitcoin's growth while other cryptos like Solana were still down. And now, guess what? It's going to join other cryptos, other altcoins. Because Bitcoin and XRP had its run, but XRP was literally, you know, it was kind of like trying to catch up to the price after getting listed on all these exchanges, the SEC drop lawsuit. So that was the real price. I feel like $2 or whatever it was, that was the price it deserved, $1.5. I mean, like, I was looking at 30 cents and I thought, wow, that is really cheap. At 30 cents, and it's one of the top cryptos. But again, 2022 is way different markets. But right now we're seeing, this absolutely exploding and going to its real price, which real price could be 366 right now. Nobody knows where it's going to try to go for that price discovery.
Speculation. Another very interesting signal is that a lot of whales are currently closing their short positions.
So yeah, this is the bullish one. Closing a short on 1.35 million, basically saying that, okay, it's not going to drop, and it literally went up to 3.7 cents. But he bet 1.35 million. So this whale knows something.
Just on XRP, but also on Ethereum and other altcoins. And this is also very important data to watch closely. Also, the XRP ledger just hit 7.3 million addresses. So we are seeing continuous growth there on the XRP ledger, which is, of course, amazing to see and something that you definitely don't want to ignore. So let me now share the price targets with you that I have in mind for the short term. So as you can see, XRP indeed broke out of this triangle. We had a retest with the last weekly candle, and we're currently seeing somewhat continuation to the upside. Key levels to break right now in the short term are around $3.40 to $3.50 for XRP, because the weekly candles from a few weeks ago got rejected over there. We didn't close above 350, and also here a few wicks in January. So pay attention to that. But let me now share the exact price targets with you that
So yeah, I feel like just going from here, the price targets, well, we're not going to be seeing like 50 cents to $700, but I feel like it's also going to be way harder now from 50 cents, because this is when all the exchanges listed it. So the real price could be like at $4, people are saying, or $5, $4.5.
I have in mind for XRP. And for this, guys, I'm using the trend-based VIP extension tool, and I'm taking the entire length here of this impulse from November and December. And if we project this trend line to the lowest point of the correction, which was $1.61 for XRP on the 7th of April, then we can see that the 0.618 Fibonacci level is the first one to break for XRP at give or take $3.40 indeed. And if we go higher than that, guys, then the next imminent price target for the next few days maybe, or next week or two, could be around $4.50 for XRP.
So that to me is like, in the next week or two, I don't think we're going to be hitting $4.5. I really hope so. But I feel like to get to that, it's going to be much harder than people predict.
That is a move upwards of roughly 50% from the current position. But this could be massive resistance for XRP somewhere around $4.50. Maybe we're going to wick above this, but I do not expect close.
So the one he's writing is like October, September. That's way more possible than August. So all of these prices that we see explode, I feel like September is going to start to rally, because crypto now takes time with all this regulation. It's definitely not going to be as easy as people think. But yeah, September is going to be like the stepping stone, the start of everything, where markets come back. And I'm going to be back in September. I'm going to be here in September. But yeah, we can't like expect September to suddenly go to $7 or $10. I hope I'm surprised. But I want to stay always realistic when talking about this. There's so much to do before we even hit, $4.5. It has to stay above $4. Then it has to get like $4.20, $4.30, I think is where it's going to like stop a bit, from what I remember from the charts.
Closest above $4.50 in the first instance, maybe some consolidation before eventually the next rally higher for XRP. So pay very close attention.
So yeah, I feel like there's going to be multiple rallies, especially with multiple rate cuts. So one rally for each rate cut, and then one rally for each ETF, and then it's slowly backing down, going for a new high, slowly backing down. Again, there's a misconception that we're going to be seeing XRP pump to $10,000, like just overnight. It's going to be hard. Yes, it can, like, $7 can happen. Crypto is just getting started, but we got to stay realistic in that part. But who knows? Like, I'm definitely very hyped about that. There's one thing that makes XRP so different from other coins. Look at this. So
out in the crypto world.
So this is why people are buying XRP and not altcoins. Like XRP is more bought than all other altcoins. And right now it is bought way, way, way more. It's stocked way, way, way more. So other altcoins, some of them have not a lot of traction right now. Some of them are dead since 2021. They are inactive. But XRP has been slowly building up its community and it's becoming stronger and bigger.
Due to its specific design, its use cases, its partnerships, all of this offers something a little bit different than most cryptocurrencies offer. And in this video, I want to break down why people invest in XRP and give you guys some of the big highlights as to why so much of the retail focus right now is on XRP. And let's start with number one, and purpose built for payments. It's not just a...
So I feel like what really started XRP growth is the lawsuit finally being over. Again, this has been confirmed since crypto history 2020. So it needed like 6-7 years to even do that. And once that was over, that's when the real rally started. That's when people started joining in because they saw XRP's true price potential. They saw it listed and they were like, what's that? XRP on an exchange? I think I will buy it.
Currency. It's not just an idea. It's not just,
but yeah,
we'll see what happens. XRP was designed.
Regulation, like all the updates that we have been seeing, is just another big part of it.
By Ripple Labs specifically for fast, low cost, and scalable cross-border payments, not just as a general purpose coin like many of the others. Now, it's morphed into something bigger, and we'll get into that later on in the video. Make sure you guys stick around until the end. Go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe if you have not already. We are here every single day breaking down what's going on with news, information, etc. And oftentimes we do videos like this just highlighting ecosystems, right? Now, what makes XRP unique is its ultra-fast settlement times. It has crazy transaction speed, 3 to 5 seconds. This is Visa-level throughput. 1,500 plus transactions per second. Compare that to Bitcoin.
So yeah, banks need that. Banks and worldwide institutions really are requiring that for everyday transfers. That's why you see, some transactions in some banks being used a lot when they have transfers of 5 seconds, 10 seconds. But most of the banks, like I would say 95%, still have those 1-day SEPA transfers, we call them, which take 1 day, 2 days to even go out there and are closed on the weekends. Now, what if you had a ledger or a machine, this blockchain that is not sleeping, not eating, it's just sending transfers all the time, even on weekends? What if you're partying on weekends and you have to, send your friend $10 through a bank and you cannot do it because the bank is closed? Again, this is what's changing. Ripple is going to change the future of transactions that we are seeing. That's why it's growing so much.
In Ethereum, Bitcoin at 7 TPS transactions per second, Ethereum at 15 to 30 transactions per second, XRP at 1,500. Okay, and so with that also comes low transaction cost. XRP transactions cost a fraction of a penny, which is ideal for remittances. Now, some argue it might not be the best for microtransactions. I'll say that it definitely could be used there too, but definitely for the movement of big money, right, through the institutions and the banks. And
so yeah, the only issue with Ripple right now is still developing that worldwide use case. So the worldwide use case is not there quite yet. It's still going to take tons of time to actually get to worldwide transfers where everyone in the world is going to be using Ripple. Again, you need a lot of partnerships, but the banks are testing that to get into the first stages.
And minimal energy usage as well is something that XRP has compared to Bitcoin or Ethereum, which obviously both use proof of work, or did. Now Ethereum's moved from proof of work to proof of stake, but still very, very minimal energy usage compared to some of the top protocols. Now, there's also something called on-demand liquidity that makes XRP pretty interesting. XRP is used in Ripple's on-demand liquidity product, which allows the banks and payment providers to settle fiat transfers instantly using XRP as a bridge currency.
Yeah.
There's no wait time anymore. There's no middleman.
That's what I've been saying, guys. Contracts is the next big thing because anyone can do transfers, right? But the contracts is like every single day. We had contracts since 3,000, 4,000 years, and that's what's keeping people really, really excited about XRP. The another thing that we have right now is BlackRock using it to pay Ondo. So they are literally paying Ondo with using the Ripple technology. They are not using bank transfers. Again, BlackRock is one of the biggest banks, but they are using Ripple to literally test out and pay, for the project, for the services provided.
Moves the need for any pre-funded accounts, freeing up billions of dollars in capital and allowing billions of dollars of capital to move quickly, which we need in a globally connected society, especially from a business standpoint. Ripple has major institutional partnerships as well. They've established partnerships with big banks like Santander, SBI, Standard Chartered, and payment providers, MoneyGram, Tranglo, Remitly. This enterprise level adoption is rare in crypto. A lot of the things are still super speculative, whereas Ripple actually has substance already. Now, it also has unique consensus.
And I also feel like this, Ripple has tested stuff. It has worked in the last 13 years. But to actually get to technology level where we're used in banks, the governments are trying to push that, and Ripple is trying to push that, but we're still like 2-3 years away from that
mechanism because it uses the Ripple Protocol Consensus Algorithm, or RPCA, and it's not proof of work, nor is it proof of stake. This makes the ledger itself, XRPL, extremely fast, extremely efficient, and highly secure. Now, finality is achieved in seconds with no mining involved either, which is good for business-to-business transactions. But it also would be, I'd be remiss if I didn't want to address the regulatory scrutiny. And I think a lot of the regulatory scrutiny that's come with XRP.
There's also an issue of how many of these banks want to use blockchain. A lot of the banks, they don't want to use it. They don't feel that there's future in it. But as crypto gets more and more popular, that's when we could be seeing those numbers really change. When, we get government approvals.
Is because it's such a unique system and it's challenging archaic systems like Swift. XRP is one of the few cryptos tested in major legal battles, though, because on the retail side, XRP is no longer a security. Back in July 2023, this ruling came down. Now, we're still going through the hoops and hurdles on the institutional side, but I think a lot of that will be clear when the Clarity Act is pushed through by President Trump of the United States. But meanwhile, while XRP and Ripple were going through all of the legal craziness in the United States for the 4+ past years, it was garnering a ton of attention in different pockets of the world, like the Middle East and Asia, growing very, very fast in both these regions. XRPL also has a native DEX built into the protocol since 2012.
So something tells me that Ripple is not going to do only those things it's doing right now. I feel like it's going to expand. Now with the lawsuit being over, it's very possible Ripple will try to launch more products. Like look at Solana. It's literally launched its own games, and then Solana mobile phone, which has been sold out. The first one has been sold out. So with this blockchain, this could be the start to really start to manage it properly. It really could be the first step to see Ripple go to where it wants to be. So the blockchain is just the first start of where they make most of the money. And after that, like, sky's the limit. Who knows how high they can go, because you can literally make anything once you have that bank money or bank partnerships. It's tons of money and inflows coming in. You can go for an IPO because you're trusted by banks. So the price goes up. 24,365 burning XRP every transaction is going to be fire. Yeah, the burning transactions right now is very small. It's $3,000 a day. So compared to how much Ripple trading volume there is, that's nothing. But again, I feel like it does help. Like, people say it doesn't help, but there could be in future use cases of how to burn more Ripple and how it goes up in price.
Supports multi-currency transactions and the tokenization of other assets.
So yeah, this might be the most important
Bitcoin
bull run for crypto.
If the
This is what I saw. Look at this. The most Most people have no idea what's going to happen. Look at that. It's absolutely insane.
U.S. government wants to get to 1 million Bitcoin, or Qatar, or UAE, or I don't know, UK, okay? And they say, I'm going to buy 1 million Bitcoin in the open market.
So yeah, Bitcoin has been rising, but the thing is XRP is next on the line. And billionaires are literally talking about it and predicting about it.
The UK buying 1 million Bitcoin, or the US buying, or China, Bitcoin's going to $1 million, right? Whereas,
So imagine if Bitcoin goes to $1 million, XRP is definitely going to 10 or 15 or 20 just by Bitcoin rising.
someone says, I can buy like the US government might say, MicroStrategy has 600,000 of this already.
Yeah.
I'll pay 200% premium, and it was cheaper than paying $1 million per Bitcoin. So that's
Right.
called a sovereign put.
Right.
Well, guess what? In the Ethereum world, because it's a staked token, if one of these treasury asset companies gets to 5% of ETH, they are hugely important to the ETH ecosystem.
100%. Yeah.
So then their multiple should go up. Because, Goldman Sachs, for instance, if they do a Goldman dollar and it runs on Ethereum, they want to make sure the Ethereum network is secured. So eventually they're going to be buying a lot of Ethereum.
Right.
In order to show what really influences asset prices over time, fundamental resilience and structural behavior, Tom Lee breaks through the cacophony of daily market panic. Lee directly challenges the prevailing narrative of fear in his most recent statement. While many analysts focus just on headlines, he looks deeper and finds a pattern that is sometimes overlooked. A crisis rarely begins when markets fall without a corresponding increase in credit stress. Rather, it typically serves as the precursor to a robust recovery.
So yeah, literally when billionaires are talking about crypto and they're entering, it definitely makes you think the sky's the limit, right? Because this used to be just for new traders, and crypto used to be like just 10 years ago, something that you could kind of own for fun. Now it's becoming like the future of finance. It's being talked about bank partnerships. All of that really does add up to credibility it has.
At reserves.
Right.
Like it wasn't sloshing around.
Correct.
So the more important money is actually retail. And that's gets, there's 4 cohorts,
That's what I've been saying. XRP retail is where the money really starts to hit.
4 or 5 real distinct cohorts in the market today. So we know there's institutional,
Right.
there's non-US,
Yep.
right? And
Foreign.
everyone's like, oh, we're leaving the US. There is high net worth.
Family offices.
Yeah, exactly. They stay bearish because they follow what hedge funds do.
Right.
Then there's corporates who do buybacks.
Correct.
And then there's retail. Retail was the only one buying the market at the April lows.
40 billion in March and April.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the retail.
So yeah, retail is not even back to XRP yet. I feel like only a portion is that downloaded their apps after XRP went live. This could be basically billions and billions of dollars from ETFs. So right now, most of the buyers are potentially small crypto whales and some retail and mostly OG users. So people who have been in crypto for maybe 2 years, 1 year, and know what they're doing. But the people who just came back 6 months or before, we're still going to be waiting for them. And I feel like that we are waiting like for US announcements, banks starting to promote crypto, the services, stuff like that is what's really going to make a big difference.
Investor. I think it's because retail investors see this as a stock market. They're like, I like Palantir, I own Meta. Like, should Meta get killed because of tariffs? You know what I mean? Like, should Palantir get down to 80? Like, if you think about it, like a retail investor sees it as stocks,
Right.
but the higher up you go, they're more macro. They're like, oh, Trump's going to just drive us off a cliff. Fed's going to kill us. And so these actually create biases.
Right.
And
Right.
then when the actual economy doesn't, or the stock market doesn't react to what their framework is, then they're like, oh, the market's insane. This is the dumbest rally. Only
Correct.
retail's buying it. So then they're caught off sides because they're now sitting on cash, institutions, on a complete full V-shaped recovery. And
That's what I've been telling you guys and what he's trying to tell us. Literally, all of the retail bought XRP at 20 cents, 50 cents. And guess who bought it at $3? Those who had a lot of money. So it definitely makes sense when you think about it. 50 cents, it went for a huge rally, but crypto still wasn't popular, still wasn't mainstream, right? People bought it who had, just who were in crypto before 2022, 2023 crashes. Now we see retail and every single institution coming back to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. Could XRP be next? That is the question.
that's why it's the most hated V-shaped recovery. So, but if you look at the bond market, it flips. The
Right.
bond market historically votes Republican.
Correct.
So most people think Trump is a madman, right? Because they didn't vote for him.
Are
So-
you saying TDS is one of the reasons why people did not buy the dip?
Yeah, we write about it a lot in our research, actually. So it's a partisan stock market. And actually, people... So these have been uncomfortable conversations that we've had all year
I would
because...
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, Tom, we can't... You're telling us not to sell. Because our advice was, like, don't sell. Like, even though I didn't know where the bottom was, I did know it was BV-shaped.
Right.
But they're like, Tom, we can't do that. And then I was like, well, I showed the stat. Whenever the VIX is above 60 and then it closes below 30, 100% of the time it's been the bottom.
Correct.
And they're like, well, it's different because the Fed's not going to save you. So everyone found a reason to actually argue for why a recession was starting. And as you know, economists went full on recession call.
That's correct.
So if you're a equity guy, how can you go stocks are going to do V-shaped when the economist of the firm just said there's a recession? So I
Right.
think they got caught, and we're not having happy conversations with people.
That's the thing with pumps. Nobody expects them until they arrive too late. So XRP literally rallied in 1 to 3 months when nobody was expecting it.
Well, it's fact based because we had a drawdown of more than 20%, and then we made a new high. So like the weird math that like let's say a commodity trading advisor, a CTA,
right?
has is that when you have a drawdown and then you make
I feel like that's what keeps also institutions away because they don't understand crypto yet. It's a very new thing for everyone, and those who are really early, those get rewarded best. It's like very much more risky than stock market. It's way more early than a stock market. XRP has been just over a lawsuit, and people who are fast enough caught the early wave. That's just my opinion, though. I could be totally wrong in that.
new high, that date is the start of a bull market. So actually, like in the mind of the institution now, breaking 61.41 was a new bull market.
Wow.
But the retail investor bought it at 4,800 to 61.41. But the algos are going to say a new bull market started like last week.
Now, we're concentrating on cryptocurrency. Tom Lee examines Ethereum in detail, looking beyond its price. According to him, Ethereum is in a unique position at the intersection of two strong forces: the effort by the cryptocurrency community to move real-world assets like equities onto the blockchain, and Wall Street's increasing interest in transforming cryptocurrencies into conventional financial instruments. Stablecoins are at the heart of this interaction. Lee claims that stablecoins are the ChatGPT of cryptocurrency since they have transcended excitement and found practical use. Consider Circle. It is currently regarded as a major participant on Wall Street and has grown its stablecoin business to $70 billion. However, it is more profound. Stablecoins currently rank 11th in the world and are among the biggest holders of U.S. Treasuries. Since roughly 80% of stablecoin transactions take place outside of the United States, this is not only a financial move, it also has geopolitical ramifications, significantly expanding the U.S. dollar's dominance globally. To remain up to date on the most recent developments in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and the digital economy, please take a moment to like this video.
Yeah, so he's talking about stablecoins being, very risky and stuff like that. People forgot that it's not all about stablecoins. Now, the US government is focusing only on stablecoins, but there's way more than just that. And XRP is trying to reach that one factor that nobody else is doing. Bank transfers, fast chain transfers that they have been working 13 years for. It's not just stablecoins, it's not just Bitcoin. Crypto is a much bigger thing than anyone expected.
Subscribe to the channel and enable post notifications.
Well, Ethereum, I'm sure the audience kind of knows Ethereum, but I like Ethereum because it's a programmable smart contract blockchain.
Right.
Okay. But that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
I would say the real reason I kind of would say I backed into Ethereum is that stable coins are really taking off.
Circle,
Yep.
$70 billion company.
Circles like
That's why Ripple also has its own stablecoin, Ripple Ledger.
the best IPO in 5 years.
Correct.
Ripple USD.
And it trades at 100 times EBITDA. And it has made the performance. For some funds, it has made their year.
Wow.
Like, it's what put people in the top 1%. So proof in the traditional Wall Street world, Circle is like God level stock.
Right.
And it's a stable coin. Stable coins are the ChatGPT of crypto because it's really crossed over into the mainstream. But it's really evidence that Wall Street is trying to equitize tokens,
Correct.
but then the crypto world is tokenizing equities because they tokenized $1, right? And then
They're trying to enter the crypto markets now. Like the big institutions that are trying to enter the crypto markets through either institutions. BlackRock is already working in some way with Ripple, even if indirectly. And this is just the start of what they're doing. They're like first testing stuff until they finally make a big push to make all those companies. And I'm really excited for that part because that is going to be happening next year potentially.
now you're seeing, oh, JP Morgan wants their own stablecoin, Amazon, Walmart, Goldman. Well, stablecoins are a great business model and they work really well for consumers and merchants, but they all have to operate on a blockchain.
Correct.
And the majority of stablecoin transactions take place on Ethereum.
Mm.
So Ethereum's been like kind of out of favor. You know, it peaked at close to 5,000 several years ago, and
same
it
as
was
XRP.
stuck at like, 1,400, 1,500. It's back to like 2,400.
What's going?
But stablecoins are only 250 billion today.
Correct.
It's 30% of the gas fees on Ethereum, and Ethereum mints more than 50% of all stablecoin creations. Treasury Secretary Scott,
He loves
Bessent,
them.
Yep, and he says he thinks it's a $2 trillion market, which is 10x increase. The U.S. government wants more stablecoins.
Like, you guys don't realize how much crypto markets are undertapped because right now we're still at XRP 200 billion. Even if it goes to Bitcoin's market cap of 1 trillion, that is already $15. We are so early in crypto, in my opinion.
Because stablecoins collectively are the 12th largest holder of treasuries.
Correct.
And they're creating a lot of dollarization. 80% of stablecoin usage is outside the U.S.
Right.
So, but a 10 times increase in stablecoin creations is an exponential growth in gas fees for Ethereum. So I think Ethereum is a very direct beneficiary of Wall Street trying to equitize crypto.
Correct.
And crypto tokenizing equity. It literally sits in the middle. And so I think that's why Ethereum, I think, is going to be rediscovered this year. And then, of course, we're seeing it now because Robinhood is, because I think, crypto is a narrative-driven space, okay? Because it really runs on trust.
Right.
And so we know Bitcoin, the thesis is trust and, digital gold. But I think the story now is programmable money.
Mm.
And so maybe what you're seeing is people are discovering that you not only want programmable money, but you want to be running on the biggest network that does programmable money. And Ethereum is 300 billion. So it is the largest smart contract blockchain. So
Right.
I think that's why Ethereum has the opportunity to really transform. Yeah. Well, I won't necessarily speak to BMNR specifically, but I can speak to why treasury companies, which is what BMNR is.
Treasury companies coming to XRP as well. We just had a $20 million buy, which is a very small amount compared to crypto, but it's a nice start to actually see XRP go to top.
Makes sense. Because someone's going to say, oh, well, if I want to bet on Ethereum, why don't I just buy the ETF?
Right.
Or why don't I just buy it on chain and
Custody or something.
custody it? Yeah. But see, a treasury company has 5 real important pieces of optionality. Okay. So if you buy an ETF or if you buy Ethereum on chain, your units held of Ethereum is going to be constant, right? I mean, if you buy an ETF, you have a contractual amount of Ethereum.
Correct.
You have. And it maybe shrinks because they charge you fees. But these treasury companies, their goal is to grow the token held per share.
Right.
MicroStrategy, that's their benchmark, key performance metric. So
yeah, these treasury companies are secretly buying. In my opinion, they're secretly buying. They already were secretly buying Bitcoin. They bought it during the dip. They bought Ethereum. And I feel like some of them, the smaller ones, only a few are making public, but most of them are buying XRP as well.
So one, if it trades at a premium to NAV, net asset value, they can issue stock and create more net asset value per share.
Right.
That's actually what they call reflexive growth. I don't think there's very few things in the equity world that are reflexive that way. Number 2, because the underlying token is quite volatile. In fact, Ethereum has twice the delivered volatility.
Like, Ethereum is awesome, but XRP has way less use for the ledger right now than Ethereum. Ethereum is used for all the trading, all the contracts. If we can even get like a 10th, maybe a 5th of Ethereum's volume right now, that would be amazing. But the issue is that the ledger right now is really small, in my opinion, because it's just doing test transactions. Ripple has said that most of the transactions they have on there are just basically for, testing if it will work with banks, which is good for any buyers because it means it has more potential. But again, we haven't reached even the peak of transfers or use cases, and that's the problem I see with XRP right now. There's not much use cases for the ledger itself. Like, why use the ledger? Why not just use it on Ethereum? And that's what a lot of people, are afraid of how XRP is going to do that. Are they going to make XRP burns? Or how Ripple will do that? So Ripple does have some plans for the ledger, including XRP, they announced.
Bitcoin.
Correct.
If you held Ethereum an ETF, and you said, I want to leverage it and buy more Ethereum ETFs by borrowing money, the bank's going to charge you 10%. But if you're a treasury asset company, one, you're a corporation, so your cost of money is cheaper. But two, you can sell the volatility in the form of convertible or derivative, and then your cost of capital in MicroStrategy's case is zero.
Right.
So you got two levers to pull. So an example is MicroStrategy has 600,000 Bitcoin.
Yep.
If the U.S. government wants to get to 1 million Bitcoin, or Qatar, or UAE, or I don't know, UK, okay, and they say I'm going to buy 1 million Bitcoin in the open market, the UK buying 1 million Bitcoin, or the U.S. buying, or China, Bitcoin's going to $1 million, right? Whereas someone says I can buy like the U.S. government might say MicroStrategy has 600,000 of this already.
Yeah.
I'll pay 200% premium, and it was cheaper than paying $1 million per Bitcoin. So that's called a sovereign put.
Right.
It takes $10 to move $5 on ETH. That's why I feel like a lot of people will move their projects as well to Ledger. But Ethereum mostly has different use cases than XRP. So XRP is going to be mostly for banking and transfers, and Ethereum has way more potential with what I'm getting is like contracts. You can write way more than, for example, Ripple. Ripple is like more mainstream. It's not designed to run like crypto projects. It's more like designed to go from point A to point B. And that's good enough. It focuses on one simple thing, being cheap and fast. Now, Ethereum cannot do that. And it's not cheap. It's kind of getting faster. But that's where Ripple really wins, right? And that's why all the banks choose Ripple.
Based, narrative-driven industry. As digital gold, a safe haven of value in the digital era, Bitcoin gained that trust. However, the crypto narrative is...
XRP price prediction. This could cause a squeeze. I saw 500 in the title, so I'm curious what will happen.
Get your thoughts. I should also let you know that I have no position on XRP. I'm not long, I'm not short. I have nothing to do with Ripple or really the entire ecosystem. I have no...
So yeah, I feel like a lot of people have been in the Ripple industry right now, but so many YouTubers are talking about it. Like, there are millions and millions of YouTubers who don't even make crypto and talk about XRP. It's the new hype trend. It's basically everyone is talking about it, all the finance YouTubers, and it's slowly sipping from just crypto to actual, like, mainstream media. It's getting on the TV. That's what's really pumping it. That's what happened to Shiba Inu coin before it pumped a lot.
Yeah, if you look at the USA Today, when they posted the article on X, and
it's literally got on USA Today. Look at that. 1.1 million views. 5.6k likes. That's a lot of paid for by, and they're saying like this was paid. View count compared to the rest of the posts. I'll stick with the top two. Like, a lot of people, there was a lot of bad opinions about this post, but XRP is the smartest cryptocurrency to buy with 500 right now. So USA Today posting this, I'm not sure if this was sponsored or not. I'm guessing not. But them calling this is one step closer to Ripple going mainstream. So one thing you guys forget about is how important it is to get actually the attention of outside crypto space. Because the crypto space is a very small room, right? Everybody, if you keep screaming in a room, everybody will hear you very, very fast. But it's very limited, right? Nobody can hear you outside of the room. But if you open all the doors, that's where it could really unlock the potential. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is Ripple is now trying to push to go to be on the news. This post by USA Today triggered all Bitcoin maxis. I mean, yeah. And I feel like a lot of people who don't want to buy crypto. But the thing is, this has reached 1 million people, probably more than that will potentially buy XRP. They might not. They might research about it. The most important factor is they have now been exposed to Ripple. Soon as you hear the product Apple, soon as you hear a product Samsung, you're exposed to it. And that's what we're seeing right now. People are getting exposed to the info of what it is.
Comments of this video and scream that XRP is a scam, or go the other way and admit that you have an unwavering devotion to it and it's the best thing since sliced bread. Why don't we go through the reasoning and dive into this as if we were quants or detectives ourselves and see if this argument actually holds any water. And then obviously after that, feel free to say whatever you want in the comments. So to get us rocking, the author of this article, Will, basically says, hey, if you put $500 in the S&P 500, generally it returns 10%. So that's just $50, and $50 ain't gonna get you squat. So you might as well look at something that is quote unquote better. Below, I will explore why the payment focused token digital XRP might be an excellent long-term pick as it racks up regulatory wins in the US and seeks to disrupt the market for international transactions. For those of you who are new to the world of Ripple, or maybe just XRP, or just need a little bit of a refresher, that's the big pitch, is that, hey, for cross-currency transactions, that's the use case. Swift, it's slow, it's costly, and
that's what a lot of YouTubers have been saying.
There's other issues with it, and really we just have this big problem of changing one currency to another, and the list of those problems is endless. So I fully understand that.
I feel like a lot of people underestimate the potential that this is a problem, and you know, just seeing so many billions of transfers really shows you, for XRP, really shows you that people believe this is truly a problem, because it is. Banking is used every single day by billions of people, by probably 6 billion, 5 billion people. They use banks every day in some way. Probably quadrillions of transfers, not even trillions, are getting sent, and Ripple is going to be in that chain. Now, are people going to be buying billions of XRP? Probably not. Most people probably won't, but it's a very good start to actually have people realize that it's a problem and then buy XRP, because that's what we saw now.
Something needs to be done here, and that's basically the pitch of Ripple, and more specifically of XRP, of this is the solution of basically swapping currencies. Alrighty, so the first reason of why Mr. Will loves XRP is the regulatory climate is easing. Donald Trump's presidential election victory sparked a sharp rally in many cryptocurrencies, and it isn't hard to understand why Wall Street is so optimistic. On the campaign trail, he promised to support the digital asset industry, and so far his administration is meeting or even exceeding expectations with a raft of newly passed legislation. Now remember, not necessarily doing this out of the goodness of his own heart. His own company, ticker symbol DJT, has a lot of crypto connections, so if crypto does well, his own investments, his own company is most likely.
We are bringing someone into.
On July 18th, Trump signed the Genius Act, which is designated to create.
So yeah, the Genius Act is what really is going to push mainstream adoption. Mainstream adoption. You keep hearing it for the last 3 years, 4 years, right? But this is the big thing right now. People have been asking this since 2020, and 2026, 2027 is when this will take effect. Now, yeah, crypto is moving. It's moving very slowly. The issue is prices move fast. What does not move fast is regulation. It takes tons of time. It took 5 years to do this, 6 years, 7 years. This was being talked about since 2017. And once that is done, we're going to be seeing the next step.
A framework for issuing dollar-pegged stablecoins. On its face, this law helps legitimize cryptocurrencies as a mainstream asset class, which will also encourage businesses and institutional investors to get more involved without the fear of potentially breaking any rules. So for the longest time in the world of crypto.
So yeah, without breaking any rules, like the exchanges can buy, they can do whatever they want. That's going to be the big hit for crypto, because that means you can pump in millions and millions of dollars that you were afraid that you were doing it wrong before. Now it will be allowed to do, which will bring lots of money.
people really didn't have the quote unquote green light because they didn't know what was above board, below board. They were waiting for that regulatory clarity. And now people are saying day over day, week over week, we are getting closer to that clarity we need. And obviously the Genius Act is one example of that. In fact, you could argue that there's a direct correlation between more regulatory clarity and now that the SEC has stopped its fight with Ripple and specifically XRP. So that's Will's big reason number one, regulatory clarity and seemingly the fact that our elected officials, our government, is somewhat supportive of crypto. Number two is allegedly the real world utility. XRP's main selling point is its focus on real world utility, instead of trying to be a platform for highly speculative and often useless
Yeah, so this is the issue right now in crypto is nothing works. Nothing really works, but Ripple is literally partnering with banks because they have something to show for it. That's why people said that, you know, crypto is so useless, is because half of the stuff you don't need in the real life, right? Do you need NFTs to play video games? I mean, it's a cool idea, but nobody is going to use them. That's why video game NFTs failed in such a competitive market. Do you really, like, there's a lot of potential with NFTs, don't get me wrong, like land contracts. But again, the fast transactions is what forces banks to join Ripple. It forces them because what are they going to do? Like, who are they going to go to? Nobody does this same technology as Ripple does.
Centralized applications, also known as dApps, XRP focuses on more tangible market for international payments. Its speed and low fees make it an ideal bridge between different currencies. As I said at the beginning of the video, that's the main pitch for XRP. Is basically you have currency A, currency B, and XRP is the bridge between the two. It is very fast and it's very cheap, but don't forget there are other competitors known as stablecoins.
So yeah, the stablecoins, I feel like, I don't know if he meant that, but the issue with stablecoins is they don't have their own blockchain. They run on blockchains. So they're not really competitors. The competitors like HBAR, ADA, whatever, like there's tons of competitors, but no one has gotten so far as Ripple did. There are small market caps, but I feel like the communities are very divided on that one. I think there's going to be multiple winners. Like there's better technologies than Ripple, in my opinion. The issue is, can you get a partnership with, like, do you have the connections that Ripple does? Do you have 900 employees? I felt like Kita looked nice, but again, the partnerships is what it's missing out on right now.
But don't you worry, because Will talked about that as well. Instead of allowing its niche to be disrupted, XRP's developers are joining in the stablecoin fray. In 2024, they launched a dollar-pegged stablecoin of their own called RLUSD. Consumer use of RLUSD can indirectly benefit XRP because both tokens are built on the same networks. RLUSD transaction fees are paid with XRP, which is then removed from circulation, aka burn, which really does help with the supply demand metrics. And on that note, I should let you know, apparently it's doing somewhat well. Ripple USD price explodes, market cap hits
600 million with XRP powering every trade. XRP has graduated from the bust volatility of a meme coin. So yeah, it was a meme coin before because it literally had a, you know, huge lawsuit, couldn't do anything. That's why.
boom and bust volatility of a meme coin, and investors should focus on its long-term growth potential as it benefits from easing regulatory pressure and compelling real-world use cases. And now it's time for my thoughts, and this might surprise you. I kind of agree, and I also obviously kind of disagree. So the point I agree with is the easing regulatory pressures. That is true, 100% agree with that. And not only is it going to help Ripple and XRP, I think it's just going to help the entire crypto sphere. So the fact that we're just talking about cryptocurrency and the current administration, well, yeah, I agree with that point. And now for the point that I don't necessarily agree with, the quote unquote compelling real world use cases. In doing my research for this video, I've realized that when it comes to the world of Ripple, what people are really using is RippleNet. We're not really finding that many instances of large bank actually using XRP for these currency swaps. So once again, yeah, the names are all a little bit confusing, but that's technically completely different. Of course, on RippleNet, you could use XRP, but
yeah, that's the thing. XRP doesn't have as many use cases as RippleNet, but they literally confirmed that Ripple is gonna have some of these, transfers anyway. So he has a fair point that XRP does not have that potential that RippleNet does right now, that partnership. But they literally did mention, and again, when the biggest company is working with XRP, they're not just going to abandon XRP, they're going to integrate it. They are just haven't revealed these plans yet. That's why it's a risk. I feel like it's a fair risk, and that's why it's $3 right now. That's why it's not $20, because a lot of people are afraid that if Ripple abandons it, which I don't think it will, yeah, it could hurt them financially, right? If they say, okay, we're gonna stop working on XRP coin, we make so much money with the banks, with Ripple, why would we need XRP? But that's a very small chance.
It might be completely true. And maybe we just have to wait a little bit more time for XRP to become that much more popular. But don't forget, the longer it takes, well, stable coins aren't going anywhere. And if that grows in popularity, the world banking system might end up picking that route rather than XRP. So could it grow into what it's being pitched up? Of course it could. Of course it could. Of course it could. But right now, we're not really seeing those metrics. So basically, if you're investing in XRP right now, you do believe it will win out this fight. You think that XRP will be the main currency swap mechanism. And like I said, that is totally possible, but that's the risk in this.
That's the risk people are taking. Like, that's the risk people are taking at 20 cents. But, you know, the issue with stock market, it's much safer, and you're already placing your money into like Amazon. That's kind of already set in stone. But crypto, it's a bit different. The money that you're putting in is much more risky because all of this stuff is not guaranteed, right? None of your money is guaranteed because it's still work in progress. So yeah, the returns are like 3x because it's work in progress. So you get rewarded for this type of risk. It's not like it's the same amount of risk for the stocks.
Entire universe of what I can invest my own money in right now, I personally believe that there's more compelling cases. But with that being said, I'm more than happy to be convinced that I'm wrong. Maybe there's a part of this argument that I'm completely missing out in either direction. Maybe I should be investing in the long term, or maybe I should put on a giant short position. Like,
I feel like it's gonna be hard to convince a lot of people who aren't in crypto as well. Like, for example, the Matt Course show is very much, you know, good into the finance, SEC, politics, but not really crypto. So who knows? Maybe in the future we will get more XRP use cases, and that's the biggest issue XRP has. It's a big problem. Yeah, people are saying that. But again, they did talk about how they will improve that. They did talk about what use cases there will be in the future. And that is another factor that you have to realize. There is use cases right now. RippleNet is a good use case, and XRP is already burning tokens. You know, it's not like zero use case. So $500 XRP and infinite money glitch. Man, everybody's talking about XRP nowadays. It's absolutely crazy. So let's check this out. XRP money.
It was a bit of a rough weekend in the world of crypto. Some of us are still reeling from this shitcoin we bought back in 2014 that is down 50%. But fear not, I found an...
So the US dollar is down 50%, but XRP is literally up 300x, even more, 400x. So if you put in $1,000, you would have $400,000. Wow, that's a good investment. I would definitely do that. I would make a time machine and go there.
Infinite money glitch that you can use during times of uncertainty. First, you buy a WNBA ticket for $29.99. Then, you buy a blue dildo for $15. Next, place a max bet that a blue Candace Owens and get an update on labor negotiations. Rate the 3-week.
What's happening with this video? I do not understand. I'm trying to see the infinite money glitch. This is the part. So Paul Atkins, Project Crypto. Elizabeth Warren is a loser. She lies about everything. Like, they involve way too much politics into an XRP video.
Which will be the SEC's North Star in aiding President Trump in his historic efforts to make America the crypto capital of the world. The SEC will not stand idly by and watch innovations develop overseas.
That's the big issue that US had. All these crypto projects, again, they were from Europe, they were from Asia. Now, XRP wants to become the crypto hub. XRP, HBAR, all of that will get probably plenty of support from the US to become the big, strong, you know, what everything basically needs.
While our capital markets remain stagnant.
We also saw this from USA Today. XRP is the smartest cryptocurrency to buy with $500 right now. This article says XRP is poised for growth, noting that it excels in fast, cost-effective global payments Goes on to say that recent regulatory victories and the Genius Act enhance its appeal, making XRP a compelling long-term investment with strong potential for future gains. We also see this, which is pretty interesting. You can see that August 1st of 2017 and 4 years later in 2021, both kicked off.
So yeah, we kind of saw this 175x. Again, this is going to be harder and harder to reach. I don't think it's going to be 175x as people are calling it. Like right now, this is kind of crazy if we saw this type of run. But it would be nice. 175x would literally be like $600 XRP or $500 XRP. It's way easier when the token is cheap. Again, it's way easy to buy more food when it's cheap. When it's expensive, it's hard to buy. It's, you know, kind of easy to understand. But I understand the point that people want the rally. They want to like have another hype rally.
X increase. And this is something worth paying attention to. Ripple co-founder.
So why most banks don't use XRP? Now, this is a point of video that the chain of blocks really explained well.
Explains why most banks don't use XRP. Ripple CTO David Schwartz explains banks' hesitation to adopt XRP, citing regulatory uncertainties, high compliance costs, and reliance on established payment systems. He says that despite XRP's efficient cross-border transactions, banks favor stability, but Schwartz is optimistic that future regulatory clarity will enhance XRP's adoption.
So yeah, this is what I've been saying. This is the biggest risk with XRP that can destroy it right now, was no crypto regular clarity. And you literally had the price set in stone. When it was like that, it was literally 20 cents because there was no crypto clarity. The project was already underway. So we could be seeing prices go up as soon as those crypto bills get signed and approved.
Just wonderful.
All right, we're finally here. The moment we've been waiting for since 2021. The real bull run is kicking off. Deposits, open prize.
Billions upon billions of dollars in your first term, but you waited until your second term.
Yeah, because in my first term, I was fighting lunatics like you who were trying to do things incorrectly and inappropriately to a president that was duly elected. And we did do certain tariffs in the first term. If you look at China, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. But when COVID came, the last thing I was going to do is tell France and Italy and Spain and a couple of other countries that we're going to hit you with tariffs. We had to fight the COVID situation when that came.
What you see happening today is so far we're on a similar path where there's, again, no noticeable increase in inflation as a result of these tariffs. And in fact, not only that, but we put out a report a few weeks ago about how imported goods were actually getting cheaper.
We started tariffs. We didn't know what they're going to be, and now we kind of know, and they're more moderate and thoughtful and more carefully done, and hopefully.
Yeah, so tariffs went from like the biggest bearish news, the crypto recession market is starting, to literally pumping the markets because the tariffs got improved. So I feel like that the tariffs and all this, concern about tariffs is gone. XRP is in a great spot to see more improvement.
They'll help some companies export. Maybe some people move manufacturing back here. So, so far, so good.
With all the new information that has come out involving the Russian fraud hoax, arguably the biggest conspiracy.
Basic rights.
So one thing I don't understand is how much, this impacts. So I watched this video, but I didn't understand what this all impacts XRP. So that was my question, from a chain of blocks. So a lot of it is, good info like this one. We saw with XRP, with the tariffs. So here with the CTO actually explains why the banks don't use it. I really like this clip because the transactions are there, but people still don't trust it because they have crypto behind it. And yeah, banks are going to take it the very safe approach. That's why I said XRP is going to take years before we see any real actual movement. So yeah, it would be very nice.
Everyone will make the city less affordable and less livable and less safe.
Somebody for the filling of the person that left, a woman left, as you know, who was I guess.
So yeah, it's pretty clear that right now XRP is growing, but once this government updates are done, finished, signed, that's going to be a easy 1x. Again, not financial advice. I don't like mixing politics into my channel, but this was a very key point from his video, is the one about why it is not used. Regulatory clarity. This is the biggest risk that XRP has right now, that's why whales are selling it. Because nobody trusts, something that they could potentially be gone overnight. So I'm not saying that will happen to XRP, but it happened to many other projects when they didn't want to work with them. They were gone overnight, right? And the money disappears, whoosh. So if XRP can fix that by building trust, that is what's most important in crypto, trust. That's where it could really explode, because this trust you have to build up over 20 years, not 10 years. I thought it was always 10 years. And people are calling, XRP is going to explode. But the only thing that's stopping XRP right now is time, in my opinion. It needs to build, and it needs to show that it's not going anywhere, that the markets are not going to destroy it. The momentum is high, and people are happy to hear that. But yeah, there are some issues I see with XRP. There are negatives, because I only talk about positives. This is why XRP holders will become very wealthy. So let's take a look at this one. XRP holders, I want to be very wealthy, like top 1%.
Of financial assets is going to be a multi-quadrillion dollar problem to solve.
So yeah, I already talked about tokenization for XRP and how important it is, and how owning real estate is getting more expensive, and why XRP entered tokenization, and why this might pump it to $20. So be sure to smash that like button, guys, if you haven't already. And tokenization is the next big thing in crypto, right? Literally, they're trying to tokenize stocks, real estate. You will try to own a fraction of an apartment, a fraction of a stock is the next big thing, because people want to see that for some time. They don't want to own maybe, the whole apartment. They just want to own 1/5 of it and use 1/5 of it and rent out 1/5 of it. And now they finally will be able to. That's what I like to see.
The blockchains that are able to solve this at scale will be the winners here. And the people that invest in those blockchains, it'll be our greatest opportunity to achieve wealth in human history. I want to go through some information today, kind of what's holding back tokenization, maybe a snap of the finger, a flip of the switch moment, what still needs to be done, how much value has already been tokenized onto blockchains, and how much is still to go. I have everything that you need to know in this video. Let's set this all up to really understand how big the problem is that we need to solve, and what is it going to mean.
Yeah, so XRP right now, tokenization is a very time-consuming technology, so I don't think this will happen overnight. But over time, we could really see XRP grow in that. And that's what I've been telling you guys. This further supports my theory that XRP is not only doing transactions, it's doing other stuff as well, and it's entering tokenization. Why is BlackRock entering tokenization as well? Very simple reason. It sees a lot of money. They see potential in the future of digitalizing everything, and that's what XRP is trying to do as well.
Mean for us
that every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every bottle of fine wine, every collectible car,
that's what I'm telling
every piece of real estate,
that's why NFTs were exploded. It's like 1% of those NFTs.
Private business, everything of value in the world will eventually be a token. This adoption of technology, this evolution, it's not a revolution, it's an evolution of technology, that everything of value will be a token on a blockchain. Not a coin, not a thing. It's literally a line item on a public ledger. Everything of value will be that. And every transaction of value will happen in digital assets. You don't need the pieces of paper. Wipe out all of DTCC, which processes $1.8 quadrillion a year. That is a large number. That will all move to digital. And when it does, it will create massive wealth, the greatest wealth creation opportunity I'm going to see in my lifetime.
So yeah, digitalizing everything. They're trying to digitalize books, like how Amazon did it. Feel like this is going to be the next big thing that people are asking for.
Greatest wealth creation that he's going to see in his lifetime, that we are going to see in our lifetimes. All we need to do is be prepared. Pick the right blockchains. And then at that point, hope and pray everything works out like we hope it does. Also here, this is Clearbank, a potential Ripple partner who banks with Coinbase, Kraken FX, and Crypto.com, says it's a $2.2 quadrillion of equities, bonds, real estate, and derivatives will be tokenized.
And I know many of you heard me say this loads of times before, but the real world of equities, bonds, real estate, and the big daddy is derivatives, which I know Richard Barker at the back of the room was no doubt talk about the other day. It's 2.2 quadrillion. And we think that a big chunk of that 2.2 quadrillion over time will get digitized, tokenized, and therefore we would disagree with Gartner's. We think that we're actually an inflection point, not a trough of disillusion.
What do you plan to do over the, say, next 30, 60?
Okay, this is Jack McDonald from Ripple. He's the SVP of stablecoins at RLUSD. And so I just want to make sure that you understand, because if they would have sat the right chairs, this would have been perfect. He would have been here. This guy would have been here, who is the moderator. And then Emma's here and this guy's here. But they switched chairs. So I was a bit confused when I saw this. I was like, wait, I just want to let you know.
And we try to stick to our lane. And obviously, we're going to seek approval to issue a stablecoin. We're going to do that on the XRP ledger in addition to Ethereum. So excited about that.
So yeah, you guys, Ripple is not only trying to work with banks, it's trying to be its own bank. So that's just the first part. It's trying to tokenize stuff. It's trying to, basically they're trying to get meetings. They're trying to network. What's the number one important rule in finance world? Probably networking. So that is another thing they're doing. And that's what's really pumping it up, because they are trying to expand worldwide. Just like Amazon or McDonald's, started with one restaurant. They're trying to go to 5, 6, 10 of them.
Banking partners critical.
Listen, if you are a bank, right, and you're trying to work with a blockchain company, whatever your thoughts are of, Ripple and how they've done up to today, they are one of the leading teams out there that banks and institutions want to work with, because they come from this professional world that all of these other people do come from, right? They're not just kind of some bros hanging out in a house building, a meme coin. These are serious people.
These are basically multi-millionaires in one single room trying to build the future. It's very well said, but what's most important is they're not there to make fun and games. They're here to build something. And another thing is Ripple has been partnering for the last 13 years.
Going into serious meetings with central banks and the biggest banks in the world. So we take them extremely seriously. And then, of course, Chainlink is also going to be a part of this. And here's the CEO of Chainlink saying that they're trying to solve a multi-quadrillion dollar problem. It's
I feel like everybody's trying to jump on the wagon, but only a few ones of them will survive.
Billions will be tokenized.
Quadrillion. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. This is what people need to understand. I'm not talking about another trillion. I'm talking about quadrillions.
All right. So I think we understand what the problem is that we're trying to solve here, and how much money could we possibly be talking about. Multiple quadrillions. I want to have Larry Fink kind of sum this up in 23 seconds, and then we're going to get into how much value has been tokenized so far. What are the key challenges holding back a flip of the switch moment or a big bang moment? I have everything that you need to know.
Specifically on Bitcoin, as I've said in the past, we're a believer in digitization of products. ETFs was a big revolution for the mutual fund industry, and it's really taking over the mutual fund industry. And we do believe that if we can create more tokenization of assets and securities, and that's what Bitcoin is, it could revolutionize again finance.
But they're not going to be using Bitcoin to do this, right? It would be too costly and too...
Yeah, so look at this. It's very slow. Dash is very slow. ETH is very slow. Then look at the XRP. It's a big line of transactions. So again, when you do these transactions, it's going to be thousands and thousands per second. If we're talking about world scale, right now it's maybe like 20, 30 for XRP per day, per second, probably even less than that. So maybe it's like 10 transactions a second, but it can handle much more than that, way more. Right? And that's what XRP is trying to prove. It can handle all these transactions for tokenization. So yeah, these are nice. These will get improved. I don't know about Bitcoin. I feel like Bitcoin is like the OG, It's going to be like a store of value.
Slow, and why would you, right? There's so many other great technologies. HBAR, you have the XRP ledger. You could use Chainlink to do a lot of this too. Ondo, right? Why would you go and use Bitcoin? You're just not going to. All right, let's dive into how much value.
Where Bitcoin wins, it's like first. So people buy Bitcoin as a store of value, as like the digital gold, but they're going to buy other coins for different type of utilities.
Has already been tokenized, and how much value still needs to come. We're also going to talk about how much value is going to be tokenized by, let's say, 5 years from now or 10 years from now. What are the projections that we're looking at, as well as what is keeping all of this from a flip of the switch moment or happening much more quickly. I'm going to break all of it down for you. So let's go into this first. So how much value has been tokenized so far? The answer to that question is roughly
24 billion. But I feel like the community for tokenization is very small. Look at that.
1% of tokenized real estate already done. So we haven't even hit a 0.5% or 1%. Bonds and government corporations.
Like this will never be tokenized to 100%, but the potential is sky high. The real issue is not how much you tokenize, is how many buyers you can get. How many buyers can Ripple get to these tokenized platforms? That's the question.
Bonds, 2 billion out of $130 trillion globally. We have 0.001% of that done. U.S. Treasuries and debt, 1 billion out of 34 trillion. That's 0.003%. Commodities are 1 billion. 13 trillion is gold alone. That is less than 0.01%. And all real world assets, 24 billion out of 1 quadrillion, all asset classes, 0.01, less than. So you can see that we haven't even reached, you know, a tenth of a percent.
The issue is most people don't even know how to use crypto yet. So how will they, like, there's no regulation for tokenization yet. And it's probably going to take until 2030, 2035, until Ripple really starts to affect this. The good thing about Ripple is they have infinite money glitch, and they can literally do this for many years until they give up, or until they succeed. So that's the thing. 2035 could reach 4 trillion. I mean, yeah, but there's going to be tons of development. There's going to be tons of regulation. Right now, they're doing crypto regulation. I feel like next is going to be RWA, NFTs, things like that. It's going to be like 2040. So it's going to take time.
By 2035, for example, tokenized real estate alone could reach 4 trillion, still a small portion of 300 trillion in global real estate market assets, right? That's not even 2%. In 10 more years, that's not even 2%. That's not good enough. That is not acceptable, right? And so you start to look at this information of what are what's holding us back from a big bang, or what's holding us back from, a flip of the switch moment, as people like to say in the crypto market. And here we go. Global and regulatory complexity, asset ownership laws, securities regulations, and settlement requirements vary dramatically by jurisdiction. Many legal frameworks do not recognize blockchain-based asset records as valid proof of ownership or transfer. That's
the issue. Yeah, you buy like $20,000 of land on tokenization, people are gonna laugh at you. So this is going to take some time to actually be resolved. But here's the good news.
The ownership to that person. That is what they're talking about here. Operational the solution here is to get every country together, like the G20 and those type of groups, and come up with a set of rules and regulations that every country will implement. And that's how you get value to move across seamlessly. But right now, everyone's kind of doing their own thing. We're not really having this global conversation. I think that's going to hinder.
But you gotta just think about it like with Bitcoin. You think about it like this YouTube channel, Bitcoin, everything. If you want to be the first, you gotta start now. You don't start 5 years later. So that's the thing. You're early. You don't buy Ethereum or Bitcoin when it's already at $3 million, right? You start when it's very low prices. So that's the real thing, is you got to start at the right time. And that's why they're getting early into crypto.
Adoption going forward. Operational infrastructure, incompatible legacy systems, financial institutions, custodians, depositories, and exchanges each run on different, often decades old technology. Migrating all assets to tokenized systems would require coordination and upgrades across the entire financial system, not just blockchain adoption. Interoperability, multiple incompatible blockchains, and disparate standards present major barriers.
So yeah, once they open the market, should be much better, for their money, basically.
Reluctant to risk trillions in assets on new rails overnight without years of parallel testing and gradual migration. Now, if you take a look at the DTCC's work and what governments have actually been working on, I'd say that we're a little bit further along than most people think on this part of it. But they're still going to take a lot of movement from regulators and asset managers alike to be working with government agencies to make sure that there's limited risk in bringing all this value.
I don't agree. I agree there's a lot of future in buying your land on tokenized, and you can just buy it and get it, right? Without signing these contracts and stuff like that, just buying land online, as long as you don't know your customer, or buying an apartment, it's going to be much easier and faster. And buying it with crypto online would be awesome. The issue is I don't feel like we're close at all. Ripple is entering this because they're literally planning, BlackRock entered this because they have so much money that they can afford to wait 15 years before this is actualized.
Not be safe anymore. And I think that's what could help move this a little bit more quickly than, 10 or 20 years down the road. Now, when you listen to Raoul Pal, he will tell you in the next 8 years, he sees the crypto market going from 3 to 4 trillion to over 100 trillion. Listen closely.
Now, Raoul Pal, yeah, that would what I would like to see, because if it's 97 trillion coming into XRP, would be really awesome.
Asset class in all of human history. So you can catch up really fast. So you just have to get involved and start that journey, but it will level the playing field for millions of people. So my view is it goes from a $3 trillion asset class today to 100 trillion in 10 years' time. So we're only 3% of the way there. And if you put it in different terms, that means there is $97 trillion of wealth that's going to get made.
Yeah.
People are going to make a lot of money, but it's not a few people. It's not like the tech barons or the bankers. This is like, well, Binance has 260 million customers. Now, you could live 260 million people change their lives. Okay, that's a big deal. There's 500 million crypto accounts around the world. So you can change 500 million lives. And if you speak to CZ or you speak to the others, they'll say, we want to have 1 billion people, 2 billion people. Well, if you can change 2 billion people's lives, that's a quarter of the world. So it's a very, very big deal. And also it's a big deal because people are getting access to dollars. So the stablecoin thing, I asked CZ about this. I'm like, well, what about stablecoins? He said, I didn't see how big they were going to be. He didn't realize, and most of us didn't realize, how desperate people are to own US dollars.
Yeah.
And so before, to get access to dollars, you had to have access to a big bank and or you could get a small amount of dollars. But normal people couldn't save in it. And somebody in Southeast Asia, they couldn't get access to dollars. And now suddenly they can get it on their Binance app immediately and send it to somebody else, US dollars. That's an incredible change for people. So
that is incredible change for.
Yeah, the thing I kind of agree with here, like sending US dollars, we're still very early with what stablecoins are. The issue is 100 trillion. Like we are just getting into 4, 5, 6 trillion. So 500 trillion in 10 years time, again, could be compound, but that is if everything goes right.
Markets in their countries if they want to stay relevant with their currencies. And then you have stuff like the DTCC, right? The DTCC has been working on tokenizing this value, these securities for quite some time. They've had a bunch of different trials. They've had a bunch of different acquisitions. And, you start to look at the interconnectedness of the DTCC and you realize that Ripple and Stellar are connected in big ways to this, as well as HBAR,
I feel like it's all more connected than we expect, especially for XRP. They know each other very well.
The great adoption, tokenization of financial assets onto blockchain. And they'll say that, hey, oh yeah, we voted for, the Genius Act.
So yeah, with Crypto Sensei, I have some experience in that. So I wouldn't fully agree that we are right there yet. I feel like it's going to take some time. And I feel like the first thing that's going to happen is probably the partnerships, the big partnerships we're talking about. Tokenization is really their long-term pet project. I could be totally wrong here, so someone knows in comments, but I feel pretty confident that the bank partnerships are going to be way sooner than tokenization. The tokenization is not the main thing yet, but there is a huge market for it if you can get the buyers, right? So there is interest, there are buyers, there is demand, but the time of development is going to take a while.
We have solved the problem of, yes, now it's legal to operate crypto. We don't have to, use VPNs in the back alley to trade it, but we're still at a very infant phase of the market.
So yeah, the market might take like 5-10 years to normalize. Guys, smash that like button. I love you all. If you want more content, be sure to check out my channel. So yeah, gonna end it early today. And peace, everyone. Love you all. Thank you so much for coming and smashing that like, and thank you for coming to the stream. Gonna take a break now. So yeah, see you guys soon. Love ya. Appreciate you all coming to the show.